I'm actually kind of fond of Great Tank, though sometimes I really wondered why while I was playing it for this video. It's a game with a lot of rough edges, but I also think it's SNK's best effort on the Famicom yet. And there's a lot of wonderful aspects to the game, but then there's a few things where you just wish they did it differently. Great Tank is based on the game TNK3. That game is technically the origin point of Ralph from Ikari. And that gets replicated on the Famicom version, where it opens with Ralph boarding the tank. Great Tank takes place in the aftermath of the D-Day invasion, and you're controlling a tank sent in on its own to kill Hitler? Maybe? Look, the ending's kind of vague in the Famicom version, but it really does make it seem like you won the war single-handedly. Great Tank is a vertically scrolling shooting game that brings a lot of unique twists to the genre. It doesn't auto-scroll. You'll have to make all of the forward progress yourself. The tank has a rotating turret, and it rotates if you hold down B and press in a direction. The B button also fires your rapid machine guns, which are good for taking out soft targets. The A button fires the main gun, and that's what you'll have to use on enemy tanks, bunkers, submarines, trains, or anything else that looks kind of tough. As you're driving around, you'll sometimes see people who need rescuing. You can just drive on top of them. Unlike the Nazis, it won't kill them. If they're locked up in a building, you'll have to blow open the door, too. The advice they give you is, there, and you hit select to clear those screens. You can also get advice over the radio. Sometimes you'll see the call symbol appear, and you'll have to hit select and then go down to choose the radio. That menu also shows you the two big features of Great Tank: the power-up system and the branching paths through the game. While you're driving around, you'll see these squares with letters in them, and those are the power-ups. E gives you some energy in your life bar, and the rest are things that get added to your sub-menu. If you can find an R, that's a reserve tank. It'll refill your life if you run out. It then slowly refills over time before you can use it again. The reserve tank does have to be active in order to be used, and you do that by pressing select, going down to the R, and hitting the A button. The whole bar refills if you die though, so there's never a reason not to have it active. The V, F, B, and L are all different kinds of shells that your tank can fire. The V is rapid fire. They fire faster and you can hold down the button. The F are armor-piercing shells that do extra damage. They can also go through some objects. Bs are for explosive shells. They burst when they hit something or reach their maximum range, and that makes them good for taking out some targets that just won't stop firing. L is long range. It doubles the range of your shots, and will often let you hit enemies that can't hit you back. You activate what type of shell you want to use on the submenu, and one of the clever things in Great Tank is that you don't have to pick one. You need extra damage and long range? Okay, select both of those. Why not add bomb in as well? And if you really want to do some damage, go ahead and add the rapid fire. Unfortunately, power-ups start becoming rare the deeper into the game you get, so I wouldn't use the shells just to use them. You shouldn't hoard them either, but that last portion of the game can be brutally difficult if you don't have anything. While you're driving around, sometimes you'll have the opportunity to take two different paths. You can see that reflected on the map in the subscreen. There's over 20 unique environments that you go through in Great Tank, and you go through only about 8 of them as you complete the game. So if you drive down one path and beat it, there's still a lot more game to see. My path took me through a train yard where I fought a rail boss, some canyons, an electrical plant where lightning was constantly shooting out, and finally a series of wooden bridges. The wooden bridges were the worst possible path to take. Your tank isn't especially maneuverable, so it's kind of hard to dodge shots. And on those bridges, you have absolutely no room for maneuverability. So you'll have a tough time dodging the homing missiles that the submarines fire. And when the tanks start filling up your path with shells, It's not like there's a position that you can safely fire from. You just have to eat the damage and push through. While taking on enemy forces, you can run over the enemy soldiers. In fact, they're such non-threats to you that you might as well do that. Keep in mind that officers drop things, and you won't be able to see what you're picking up when you run them over. Colliding with tanks will do a huge amount of damage to you, and if you run over a landmine, it's instant death. You have 3 lives in Great Tank, but it does offer unlimited continues. And there's even a password for picking up right where you left off. While I was playing Great Tank this time, I was struck by just how hard it was to get the tank to move around. It does not turn on a dime, and that makes dodging a lot of shots and enemies very difficult. And there's some things where you basically have to know that it's coming in order to be able to deal with it. The variety of enemies is also fairly small. There are some that appear in certain special areas, but really you'll be seeing the same 4 types of tanks and 2 types of soldiers over and over again. I still like the game. I love how you've got power-ups that you control and you can mix and match them, and I really like how it mashed up all of its stages into one continuously scrolling battlefield. I also like the visual design in the game. What World War II armaments we do see are represented nicely for the Famicom. It's just that I can see that there's plenty of room for improvement in Great Tank. It's interesting, but it also could have been a lot better.